The testosterone level in our green room is through the roof today, and in the middle of it all is one of the most gifted actors of our time, Tom Hanks. Ask yourself this: would you risk your life to save the life of a complete stranger? In Saving Private Ryan, Tom Hanks plays Captain John Miller, and his mission is to take what's left of his platoon after D-Day and lead them behind treacherous enemy lines to bring home a soldier, Private Ryan, who has lost his 3 older brothers in the war. Take a look.
I don't know anything about Ryan. I don't care. Man means nothing to me. It's just a name. But if, you know, if going to Ramel and finding him so he can go home, if that earns me the right to get back to my wife, well, then that's my mission.
Please welcome Tom Hanks.
You out of uniform.
I know.
We are so stunned still by that movie. We expected you to walk out looking like the captain.
You know, we talked before about how you play the hero, and you really are. I'm not going to say what you do for a living before you enter the war, because that comes as a surprise in the movie, but you play a very ordinary guy who is basically forced into a position. As you said, all you really want to do is go home to your wife. Making this movie, did it change at all your perception about war, especially because about World War II?
Well, not in the face of global armed conflict. World War II, it's called World War for a very specific reason. The entire globe was fighting a brand of slavery and tyranny, and there was no getting by the fact that the only way to defeat it was the vast humanity literally enlisting and saying, no, we'll put ourselves on the line. Stephen Ambrose talks about this concept of the citizen soldiers. There are professional soldiers, but there is also that huge section of the world that are just guys who say it's now time to do the right thing. And the right thing on December 8th, 1941, is to go down and volunteer your services and sign up for the duration, which is what? It's about 4 years of giving your life over to training and, you know, for a certain percentage of them fighting, and for a certain percentage of them not only just dying, but also making sure somebody on the other side dies as well.
Could you see yourself doing it? I mean, take yourself out of the character now and just be...
You know, I'm not really good at hypothetical circumstances, but I would have to say that I would hope that if I am, you know, of a serviceable age in 1941, I realize what's going on and do the right thing.
This is a very graphic movie. This pulls no punches. I mean, you see that war is hell. And we should say that this movie is directed by Steven Spielberg. Now, Schindler's List was a view of the Holocaust as we had never seen it before. Amistad was Steven Spielberg's look at the horrors of slavery. What do you think he's saying about war in this film? And do you think it had to be as graphic as it is?
I think it has to be so in order to demythologize. Is that the correct word?
Sounds good.
What Steven does in a great way, that he certainly did with Schindler's List, is he brought up almost the banal minutia and the commonplace of something that is hard to understand as the Holocaust was. And I think he does the same thing, certainly with the Omaha landing and D-Day. You mentioned earlier that in the opening scene, guys are vomiting on board the landing craft. Well, there's a reason they were vomiting. They were up for 7 hours. They were loaded down with 60 pounds of equipment, and they were on these flat-bottom boats pitching in heavy seas for 4 hours.
And terrified.
And terrified, but never, they're just seasick. It's not a matter of you climb down, you get on, you sing songs as you go in, you get off, and you run off the ramp. It's a huge physiological process that you must go through. And Steven brings this in the smallest, tiniest ways. There's a moment there when it's all over. There's a moment of repast, and guys are just making coffee and sandwiches. And you look at, I saw the movie and I said, oh, I wish I had that hot cup of coffee right now. Yeah. These guys, somebody else said, why don't they take off their shirts? Studs Terkel, in his book, The Good War, made mention, a guy did an interview, and he says, look, I was on the second wave of D-Day, and I never stopped for 40 days. For 40 days, he was either fighting or running or maybe sleeping. No showers, no time to change, no time to take off your shirt and get some sun. It just wasn't like that. It was hell on earth.
But it's also, I mean, in focusing in on the banal, you begin to appreciate just how serious it was. That's what I meant by the vomiting, because you see it as people. and it's not this kind of romantic image anymore. It's much different than that.
The row of crosses at the Omaha Beach Cemetery is not just marble. It's flesh and blood that are underneath that grass there.
You chose to do this film. You have other choices, and Steven Spielberg chose to direct this film. Were you or he trying to say something in particular about war other than doing this epic, sensational in every way film?
Well, I can't speak for Steven. I think we were trying to put it in a perspective that has been lost. That the ancient history that World War II has become, in fact, impacts us every day. We're still living in a world that is affected by what went on, and what was not only what was stopped, but also what was created by, you know, 6 years of this massive armed global conflict. There are no easy answers. I mean, we had these philosophical discussions before we made the movie, why we make the movie, and you know what? All you get at the end is more philosophical questions. There are no answers to this.
It's a film that young people should see, and can you imagine what it will mean to veterans who see it? Everybody should.
Absolutely.
Well, we're going to come back, and we're going to meet your co-stars, your squad, your other soldiers. The
other men in action.
Okay, and they're going to be back with us in just a minute. Ed Burns, Tom Sizemore, and Matt Damon, along with Tom Hanks. We'll be right back.
Up next, Ed Burns, Tom Sizemore, and Matt Damon storm the view and give you the inside scoop on some of Saving Private Ryan's off-screen battles. And later, Hollywood's hottest men traded in designer duds for Army green. Meet the real-life captain who whipped them into shape and almost caused a revolution.